The revolution's begun. The time to stand up has come. We are the rocking of the throne. We are the rocking of the throne.
I'm Victor Tiffany with Citizens Against Plutocracy, talking today with our latest candidate who has signed the Contract for American Renewal, running for U.S. Senate in New Jersey. Please help me welcome Green Party candidate Madelyn Hoffman. Madelyn, thank you for joining me today.
It's my pleasure, Victor. It's my pleasure.
Why don't you begin just by telling people a little bit about yourself and why you're running for U.S. Senate in New Jersey?
Yes, I ran for political office as a Green 20 years ago, 1990, or 22 years ago, actually. The first time I was Ralph Nader's vice presidential running mate here in New Jersey when he first ran for as a Green. And then in 1997, I ran for New Jersey governor as a Green, and in 1998, I ran for U.S. Congress as a Green. This was after almost 20 years working as a grassroots environmental activist throughout all of New Jersey with citizens groups and communities who were concerned about toxic chemical pollution. And then after those 3 runs for political office as a Green, I thought it was time to take a break, and so I did. But less than 2 years later, I got a job as the director of a nonprofit peace organization in New Jersey. And that's a position I held until June of this year. So for almost 20 years, I was working day in and day out to stop the wars and move the money from the bloated military budget into programs that fund community needs. And of course, less than a year and a half after I took the position came 9/11. So for most of that 20 years or 18 years, I was working in an environment that was not really friendly to people wanting peace.
Swimming upstream, if you will.
Yeah, and that's basically been the story of my life. And that's the only way that I felt like I could be a productive member of the U.S. Because there were so many things ways in which the system is organized that went against what I believed in. And the other reason I decided to run, because I had planned to retire from that position as director of the peace organization. I had planned to retire back in as of December of 2017. I said June would be the end of my time as the director. And right around February, Senator Menendez was not acquitted, but cleared because of a hung jury. And I was happened to meet up with some Greens a little while before that. And we were talking one day and someone said, oops, it looks like we're going to need somebody to challenge Senator Menendez. And somewhere out of the depths of my being came, oh, I'll do it. And then I said, wait a second, what have I signed on for? But in actuality, for the 18 years that I was working for the peace organization, Senator Menendez, actually the last 12, he was somebody that we were lobbying constantly on matters of war and peace, and he was a constant disappointment on that. So at least
he was a Democrat.
Yeah, but not just a Democrat. He was a warmongering Democrat, especially when it came to the issue of Israel and whatever was perceived in Israel's best interest, because he has received the most money as a senator, has received the most money from AIPAC and NORPAC to pro-Israel lobbies and lobbying organizations. And so when we were fighting for the Iran deal, he blocked it. He would not. He was totally against it. There was no room for negotiation or we couldn't even talk to him really about it. He's
So
since
why don't
changed
you,
his mind.
if
But
I can interrupt you,
please,
if I might, why
please.
don't you tell the viewers why you signed the Contract for American Renewal?
I signed it because every single item in there is something I believe in. Because as I watched for the last 40.
It looks like we've lost you. I don't know. I'll keep my eye on your video to see if you're going to come back. Okay. Go ahead. You got hung up for a second. You're back.
Okay. So I've watched for the last 40 years as one decision after another has been made that benefits corporations rather than the people. I've watched as pipelines get built and from Standing Rock to wherever else they may be. I've watched as one war after another has not, and I have to keep checking myself. They're really not wars because Congress has never declared them, but the U.S. has continued to provide weapons to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is bombing Yemen, and they're using U.S. bombs, and we saw that when the school bus was hit not that long ago by a Lockheed Martin bomb, and 40 Yemeni children were killed. So I've seen for many decades now that decisions that get made in Washington are not in the best interests of the majority of the people, and that runs the gamut from environmental issues to issues of war and peace, to issues of the economy. So the minimum wage is barely enough and isn't enough for many people to survive on around the country. It needs to be a living wage, not even raised up to $15 an hour, but that's a good start. I've also watched, yeah.
Well, a lot of these, all these policy positions that are listed in the contract are poll tested. We don't add anything that isn't a populist position. So a lot of these items, like the infrastructure bill, like the free college education, are very high price ticket items. You're a tax and spend liberal, is that right?
No, I'm an eco-socialist. And the way that I look at it is we're spending billions, if not trillions, on war. I mean, annually we spend billions, over 700 billion right now on war. In total, since 9/11, we've spent trillions, going up close to 2 trillion and more. And so if we were to cut that military budget, one of the items in the contract is for a 20% cut in military spending. I would take it further than that, but certainly support 20%. You take a quarter of $700 billion, and then you can reinvest that, and you can reinvest that for the people. It's my position that by spending so much money on wars, well, actually, it's not just mine. To talk to Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1961, and he'll tell you it's a theft. It's a theft from the people. Every bomb that's made or fighter plane takes money away from the people, and it is a theft from those who labor, a theft from those who want to send their children to public schools, and a theft from us all. So I don't consider myself a liberal. Maybe I did 10 or 15 years ago, but these days, no, I'm an eco-socialist.
Okay, and on the contract, there are 11 policy positions. Which ones are closest to your heart? Which ones do you discuss more when you're campaigning or perhaps giving a stump speech?
Tuition-free college is right up there, and student loan forgiveness that goes along with it, because there are a lot of, I'm also an adjunct professor And I've seen students, even at county colleges, come in, get excited about learning, and then tell me that, I'm sorry, Professor Hoffman, but I have to drop out after this semester. I can't afford the tuition. So tuition-free college and student loan forgiveness is real important. In fact, I know some people who are homeless because they can't afford both their rent and their student loan debt. So that's one. Secondly, is the position, the anti-war position in the contract. It's limited to, by name, to Afghanistan, but I understand, I would gather that it's not just Afghanistan, and it's our policy of seemingly endless wars. So that is, I wouldn't say that it's top on everybody's list, but because of where I come from and what I do, it's top on mine, and it affects everyone. It affects everyone, and I talk about that, how the money that's being spent on those wars can be spent here at home, and that resonates with many people I talk to. And then
Sure.
getting big money out of politics. As a Green, we don't take any political action committee money. We don't take any corporate money. And so when we tell people, potential voters, that we mean what we say and say what we mean, we can back that up, because we don't take money from, let's say, a lobbyist for Blue Cross Blue Shield, like the campaign manager for Senator Menendez does. So Blue Cross Blue Shield has no interest in a single payer, improved Medicare for all healthcare program. He has no interest in that. And so Senator Bob Menendez is stuck arguing about the Affordable Care Act, which it really is expensive and doesn't cover everyone.
No, it's actually quite horrible. We're finding out as
Yeah.
we go ahead and use it. How do you expect to use in these final days this contract? How will you deploy it as a campaign instrument to get people to say, "Hey, she's serious. She signed a contract. She's committed to doing these things for us."
Well, I would hope that the backing of a national organization that has connection to many progressive, both Green and Democrats, not only Democrats. I hope that can be used to show that there's a national movement. This is not just me and the Greens here in New Jersey, but in fact something that people all over the country are fighting for. There still is a strong resistance to voting third party, especially in these tumultuous political times. And it's important, I think, to show in whatever way possible just how many people around the country are ready for something different, and how we're part of this movement that frankly won't go away, even if some progressive, so-called progressive Democrats want us to drop out of the race because they don't see how a third party can be helpful in this time. It's not just a third party. These agenda items are something that the country needs and wants, and it's important for us to continue to vote for that, and then afterwards to continue to work for those items when the elections are over.
By commitment. So you've already
Yes.
alluded a number. Yeah, you've already alluded a number of times why voters would make a lot more sense for voters to support you on next Tuesday as opposed to Menendez. But just spell out maybe a couple more reasons why voters should consider voting Green and for Madelyn Hoffman rather than Bob Menendez.
Yes, I mentioned the one item, his chief lobbyist, his campaign manager for re-election, he's a lobbyist for Blue Cross Blue Shield. He's also a lobbyist for Penn East, a company that wants to build a pipeline from Pennsylvania into New Jersey. And he also is a lobbyist for the country of Qatar. So on big three, on the environment, on healthcare, and on war and peace, there's concern that Senator Menendez won't go far enough. And not only concern, I've had experience with that over the last number of years. And so it's my contention that we need to do something very different. We need to create a movement of people who are pro-peace, pro-environment, pro-healthcare for all, and all the other issues in the contract. And we can't do that if we continue to vote lesser of two evils. We can't. And Senator Menendez, there was actually an editorial of endorsement of him in the Star Ledger, which basically said he's a very poor candidate. He's corrupt. He has many flaws. So choke it down and vote for him. I kid you not. It says choke it down and vote for him. And I say, we can't. If we continue to do that, we'll never have the kind of country we want. I've had 40 years of activism. I've had 40 years of working for the people. The Greens have also dedicated themselves for the 30 years of their existence to these kinds of issues. And honestly, the year that I got cured of voting lesser of two evils was the year I was sort of forced by peer pressure to vote for Michael Dukakis, and George Bush Sr. won by a landslide. And I thought, if there was ever a wasted vote, that was the one, because I voted for somebody I didn't believe in, and the other guy won by a landslide. So I think
the paper's endorsement reminds me of just the extent to which people, including newspaper editors who should know better, but so many Americans are trapped inside this two-party mental prison, and it is just a mental prison. All they have to do is step outside on next Tuesday and vote green, or in other states, independent. Down in Florida, we have Tim Canova as a signer running against a Republican, and of course the always corrupt Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So, Madelyn, thanks for joining me today. We appreciate your time with us, and best of luck to you next Tuesday.
Thank you so much, Victor, and thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. And
You're
let's
welcome.
see how we can continue to work to change this country for the better.
Right. Thank you.
Thank
Revolt
you.
Against Plutocracy won't just be covering the news about the necessary revolution in the United States. Sometimes we'll be making the news. If you want to stay on top of the revolutionary actions and strategies of grassroots, genuine progressives, and our allies, please subscribe to our YouTube channel today.